Alright, so I'm just gonna get this out of the way at the very beginning. If the audio is a little bit naff versus the regular audio that I upload to the channel, it is because it's 31 degrees here. The humidity is insane. There's no air whatsoever, and I've got about 50 fans on me because I am not good when it comes to heat. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, I have been away at work, and then when I got home, I took a little nap, which annoyingly enough went on for longer than usual. Woke up to my phone exploding because people were saying that I need to look at the TWAB. So I am massively late to this. It's been out for I think about 4 hours now. Let's just get straight into it. Let's see what this is all about. So this week in Destiny, we are getting ready for a developer stream. Ooh, already we're going off to a bat. These things take time. So we are also telling you all about one of the biggest systematic changes we are introducing with the Edge of Fate. It's a topic that you may not have heard about yet, so get ready for it, and for the rest of our weekly topics, of course. Okay, save the date. All dungeons in Rite of the Nine. Introducing additive melee damage. Oh my god. Exotic armor tuning preview. Okay. Last call for the final shape Bungie rewards. Okay, this is alright. Alright, tune into our next developer stream. Join us on Tuesday, June 24th at 10 a.m. PT as we give an in-depth look at the Edge of Fate. We'll have the dev team on the floor ready to share many details about Armor 3.0 and the new ability stat system to show you some new weapons and more. Yes, please, new weapons, yes. Oh my god. That's next week. Oh my god. That's... What? I'm recording this at 10 past 10 at night, so it's almost tomorrow. So it's about 4 days from now. Oh my god, that's... Okay, well, yes, alright, brilliant. Everyone watching our developer stream on the Bungie Twitch channel for at least 15 minutes and with their Bungie ID linked will earn the Astromancy emblem as a Twitch drop. That does look like a pretty sick emblem as well. That's pretty cool. Alright, Rite of the Nine continues. Guardians, the Emissary and the Knight still require your attention. After making all dungeons available last week and tuning on increased rewards for them, we are entering a new Rite of the Nine cycle. All dungeons remain active and can be played at players' leisure, but only one of them has the increased rewards active, so you can go back and farm for resources and weapons if you're still chasing them. We have another update though coming on July 1st. The Emissary will start giving away nunnery engrams that are filled to the brim with hand-picked cosmetic rewards spanning multiple years of Destiny 2 content. Some are newer, like holo chips, and others are blast from the past, like Crimson Days emotes. Yeah, I mean, Crimson Days isn't a thing anymore for anyone that, you know, are brand new to Destiny, but yeah, I mean, cool to bring those back. Check the calendar below so you don't miss on anything that's coming. I really wanted them to bring the Trials of the Night Season 2 and Season 3 ornaments, but they actually didn't, which is, it just makes me so sad, to be honest with you. I wonder if they'll ever bring those back, man. From June 24th, all dungeons are available, and one will have increased currency rewards and a chance for a weapon to drop from an enemy kill, as well as increased loot from the final boss chest when completing all encounters in the featured dungeon. Alright, so obviously Prophecy is going to be last stage. Oh, it literally says here. So June 24th is Spire, July 1st is Ghosts, and July 8th is Prophecy. That's probably the main one to go for, I guess. Starting June 24th, the Emissary will offer a handful of exotics for players to round out their exotic weapon arsenal. More will be added each week through the Edge of Fate launch. This is air to me. I have every exotic in the game, so it doesn't really do anything for me. From July 1st and July 15th, players can earn nunnery engrams. Starting July 1st, players may purchase nunnery engrams using 350 nunnery manifolds at the Emissary, up to 20 during the Rite of the Nine. Okay. Starting July 8th, players will be awarded one additional nunnery engram each day for signing in. Okay, that's cool. Just be sure to claim it from the Emissary. And from July 8th until July 15th, Lootapalooza will begin. Increased currency rewards and weapon drops from enemies in all dungeons. Even more increased loot from the final boss chest when completing all encounters. This is going to be absolutely insane. This is just going to be loot carnage, which I'm very excited for. Melee damage is changing in the Edge of Fate. Hello there, this is the Destiny 2 Sandbox team, ready to talk about one of the most significant systematic overhauls coming to the Edge of Fate, additive melee damage stacking. Oh my god, this sounds really interesting. The short version is, almost all sources of increased melee damage are buffed. Okay. All sources of increased melee damage stack at full efficiency in PvE, and we are using additive damage increase calculation for melee damage. Oh my god, there's going to be a lot here. How melee damage worked in the past. Currently in Destiny 2, most sources of increased damage in Destiny are multiplicative. Two hypothetical 50% damage increases, a 1.5 times increase to damage, are multiplied together for a total of 125% or 2.25 times damage increase. This approach to damage increases has some problems. For one, the more damage increasing effects applied at a time, the more powerful they all become, which means that the best builds and the strategies can start to resolve around simply having as many buffs as possible. This is a pattern we saw in Destiny 2 prior to the mutually exclusive empowering damage buff system for weapons. Additionally, balancing the game becomes more and more difficult the more sources of increased damage we add. We do not want to have to choose between bosses being one-shot by players who are stacking as many buffs as possible, or bosses feeling like bullet sponges for players who are not. That's such a huge statement right there. I do agree with that. How melee damage will work now. When the Edge of Fate is released on July 15th, melee damage increases in Destiny 2 will be additive. This means two hypothetical 50% damage increases will be added together for a total of 100% damage increase. Okay. Now, this does result in a lower damage ceiling for melee abilities, and it is unlikely that most bosses will ever be one-shot with melee abilities going forward. But because we don't need to worry about someone stacking these melee buffs and trivializing most content in the game, we can do two very cool things. We are buffing almost all effects that increase melee damage, some of them by double the damage that they do now. Okay. In PvE, melee damage increasing effects always stack at full value if applicable. That is absolutely insane. Our goal with these changes is to make it much easier to create a personalized build that works the way you want. Many potential combinations of melee abilities and build crafting atoms are now much stronger than they were. We are very excited to see what melee builds y'all cook up in the Edge of Fate with these new changes. Yeah, I've got so many builds in mind that I want to make. It's unreal. Systemic updates. In this new system, every effect that increases melee damage has now been converted to use additive damage stacking. Every item that has been changed as part of this has been listed below, with a single exception. The melee stat introduced with Armor 3.0 increases the damage of melee abilities when going over 100 points, up to an extra 30% at 200 stat. The damage bonus provided by this stat is considered to be an increase to the base damage of a player's melee attacks and abilities, and is multiplicative with other damage increases. In short, if you're putting together a melee build, you'll want to get your melee stat as high as possible. I love melee builds, man. I really do. Additionally, melee damage no longer scales Scorch and Ignition damage generated by melee attacks. The logic behind this change is similar to the logic underlying the Jolt damage scaling changes we made a while back. We think it's healthier for elemental verbs to have a consistent effect regardless of the source that applied them. We have opted for a more targeted change here, and Incinerator Snap and Consecration Slam remain powerful options both for centerpiece abilities in melee focused builds and as potent damage focused tools in other builds. Well, that would be good for Titans to hear, I guess, because Max and Logan both have a Consecration build. About glaives, yes, the archetype that is rarely used and gets laughed upon. If you go into Trials now and you see someone on the enemy team with a glaive, you immediately go, yep, this is going to be a winnable game for us. As part of our new melee overhaul, we are revisiting the role of glaives in the sandbox. We would like glaives to find a more permanent home in melee-focused builds, where they provide a defensive tool to help you close in on your target and a faster and more potent underpowered weapon ability that Guardians would have otherwise. That's right, Glaive Melee is considered an up-powered melee ability in the Edge of Fate. Wow. Okay, so glaives are just getting a huge buff then. Anything that increases the strength of unpowered melee abilities will now increase the strength of glaive melee, including the melee stat. This does come at a cost. While glaives have a much clearer role and have a higher damage ceiling, we needed to reduce their base melee damage in PvE to bring it more in line with an unpowered melee attack. But even after these changes, Glaive Melee has a much higher damage per second output than unpowered melee attacks do. That's insane. In short, if your build relies on unpowered melee damage, Glaives will be the best way to increase your unpowered melee DPS even further. Glaive Melee is now considered to be a type of unpowered melee ability. They now receive melee damage increases at full effect in cases where an unpowered melee ability would, including the base damage increases from Synthoceps, Knockout, Offensive Bulwark, Combination Blow, Spark of Feedback, Worm God Caress, Banner of War. The Banner of War builds are coming back for Titans. And Stylish Executioner. Glaive Melee now triggers all effects that are triggered by any melee ability. They will no longer benefit from the weapon damage bonuses such as Radiant, and it's no longer weapon damage. Okay, well, I guess it's going to be huge damage anyway, so I guess that's the way that they balance it. Effects that modify the behavior of basic melee attacks, such as the Titan Aspect Knockout that changes basic melee attacks from kinetic to arc, will not affect the behavior of Glaive Melee. Okay. Glaive Melee damage in PvE has been adjusted to compensate for the increased access to melee damage increasing effects. Glaive Melee damage against minors and majors have been reduced by 40%. Glaive Melee damage against champions and mini-bosses have been reduced by 28.5%. And Glaive Melee damage against bosses and vehicles has been reduced by 50%. Below, check out the list of melee changes we have made to abilities, exotic armor pieces, and weapon perks so that they can shine in the new system. Be mindful that this list does not cover all of the sandbox tuning plans we have for the Edge of Fate, just melee focused ones. We are covering exotic armor changes in this section below, and we'll share everything about weapons and abilities in a future TWID. Abilities changes for melees. Oh my god, this is such a melee focused TWID, man. All classes. Prismatic. Facet of Courage. PvE melee damage bonus increased from 10 to 50%. Oh my god, okay. Arc. Spark of Feedback. PvE melee damage bonus increased from 75 to 100%. Now works with Glaive and Melee at full effect. PvE melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with Synthoceps, Liar's Handshake, Knockout, Worm God Crest, 1-2 Punch, and Winter's Guile. Gotta love Winter's Guile. I used to use that back in the day. Titans! Roaring Flames. Maximum PvE damage bonus increased from 73 to 200%! Oh my god! As a note, Roaring Flames increases solar ability, yeah, we know that, and Glaive Melee is always connected. We've opted to follow the rules as written for this one for now, as Roaring Flames does not scale Glaive Melee damage. Melee damage is no longer decreased when used with Peregrine Greaves, Worm God Caress, 1-2 Punch, or Synthoceps. PvE uncharged melee damage bonus increased from 100% to 160%. PvE charged melee damage bonus increased from 50% to 160%. Increased melee damage now works with Glaive Melee at full effect. This is insane. Offensive Bulwark. PvE melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 160. Increased melee damage now works with Glaive's melee at full effect. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with Synthoceps. Banner of War. Oh my god, Banner of War. Melee damage bonus for the user and allies increases from 40 to 100%. Oh my god, we're going to be seeing much more of those. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with Worm God Caress, Synthoceps, or Glaive Melee. The damage bonus provided to Blade Fury's melee attack is unchanged. Alright, now we've got Hunter. Wait, where's Warlock? Is Warlock just not there? Okay, Hunter, Stylish Executioner. PvE melee damage bonus increased from 200% to 300%. Now works with Glaive Melee damage at full effect. Now works with every melee ability if the ability makes contact while you are leaving invisibility. In other words, projectile melee abilities like Threaded Spike will benefit from the damage increase if you use it at point blank. Combination Blow. Maximum PvE damage bonus increased from 309% to 400%. Increased melee damage now works with Glaive at full effect. Yeah, well, we're seeing that quite consistently. Now works with Ascension in PvE at full effect. Now works with Grapple Melee in PvE at full effect. Yeah, I mean, wow. This is going to be insane. Exotic armor changes. Is Warlock part of this? We only have one. Alright. Hunters. Athras's Embrace. PvE weighted throwing knife damage bonus increased from 200% to 300%. Liar's Handshake and Spirit of the Liar. PvE basic melee and arc melee damage increases from 200% to 400%. Oh my god. Ophidia Spaith. Maximum PvE throwing knife damage bonus increased from 100% to 200%. It's basically double on both. And it's double on the last one as well. We've got Triton's Vice. PvE glaive melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 200. Yeah, okay, wow. Alright, for all our Titans out there, we've got Heart of Immos Light. Maximum PvE melee damage bonus increased from 20 to 50. Now increases the damage of unpowered and glaive melee abilities. We've got Peregrine Greaves. Shoulder charge ability impact damage bonus against non-champion, non-tormentor, and non-mini-boss targets increased from 363% to 400%. Holy moly. Synthoceps and Spirit of the Synthoceps. I actually use Spirit of the Synthoceps on my Warlock build. Melee damage bonus is unchanged at 165%. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with combination blow, stylus, executioner, or glaive melee. Damage bonus is still decreased against players when using lightning surge. Wishful ignorance. Maximum PvE frenzy blade melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 200. Maximum PvE Fletcher's storm and melee bonus increased from 50 to 200. That's insane. Worm god caress. Maximum PvE melee damage bonus increased from 275 to 400%. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when using Roaring Flames or a glaive. Oh my god. And then Warlocks just have one. Winter's Guile, which is a Fellwinter exotic. Maximum PvE melee damage bonus increased from 275 to 400%. That's fucking wild. I'm gonna have to check that out. Alright, weapon changes. Weapon perks. Close to melee. PvE glaive melee damage bonus increased from 30 to 60. 1-2 punch. PvE melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 150. Now works with all melee abilities. Melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when used with Liar's Handshake. Increase the time the perk is active to 3 seconds. Alright. Exotic weapons. We've got Bastion here. Oh, I wonder if Monte Carlo. Oh my god, Monte Carlo game. Exotic weapons. Bastion. Saint's Fist PvE melee damage bonus increased from 100 to 300%. Now works with melee abilities. Increase the time the perk is active to 3 seconds. Oh my god, this is gonna get noticed, let me tell you. Got Monte Carlo. Catalyst melee attack no longer deals reduced melee damage to bosses, mini bosses, and champions. Okay, I get to bang that back out of the vault. And Winter's Bite. I actually use Winter's Bite. Now receives melee damage bonus from a variety of sources. Reduced enhanced melee damage with armor to plus 20% versus bosses, down from plus 50%. Okay. Exotic armor tuning preview. We mentioned a bunch of exotic armor pieces in the previous section, so it just felt natural to go over other exotics that are changing with the Edge of Fate. Many buffs and reworks here and there, and just a few minor nerfs to keep things balanced and interesting. Alright, let's take a look. Alright, so we're starting with Hunter. Oh my god, there's so much for Hunter. And Titan, what about Warlock? Oh my god, there's so much for Titan. Oh my god, there's loads for both of them. Okay, right. Oh god. Alright, let's get a sip of the drink because we're going to be here a while. This twab is absolutely huge. Hunter! Okay, the Dragon's Shadow, and it has long felt weird how similar the Dragon's Shadow and Speed Loader slacks are in their effects, with both centered on dodging to get stats. To alleviate some of this weirdness, the Dragon's Shadow has gained many of these stats and has had its perk updated to fit better with the new suite of player stats. Alright. Dragon's Shadow now passively increases weapon stability and weapon ready speed. Dodging reloads your equipped weapon, no longer reloads holstered weapons. Okay, of course, that's a little nerf there. Activating your dodge ability grants the following effects for a short time. Increased stability and handling, increased movement speed, increased sprint, slide, and ADS strafe speeds, increased class stat. I can't stand you hunters, man. Just fucks me off. Speed Loader Slacks. With these bonuses given away, we took more of a PvE oriented approach to Speed Loader Slacks, allowing hunters to be able to provide a benefit akin to Lunafaction boots to their allies to be able to carry around during higher end content. Okay. Speed Loader Slacks. Adjust the tight to fit perk. Dodging reloads all weapons and grants an increased handling and reload speed for you and nearby allies. While this buff is active, additional dodges increase the strength of the buff and the refresh timer. Dealing sustained damage grants class ability energy. So that's just an overall buff then, to be honest with you. Mask of Bacchus. This is the Stasis Hunter helmet. Mask of Bacchus has always been an evocative and visually fun exotic, but largely is used as a PvP tool. We've made some changes to let you play into the Fallen Captain fantasy even more so in PvE, while we are pairing well with the new stats. It's also now usable on arc subclasses and supers. Oh my god, what? Mask of Bacchus. Effects are now active when either an arc or stasis super is equipped. Okay. Reworked Light Shift. No longer provides a non-stacking surge damage bonus. Now grants plus 10% damage for eligible weapons, stasis weapons, arc weapons, and Lord of Wolves. That's going to be huge for any hunter that wants to pair this with the Graviton Spike exotic hand cannon that we're getting in the Edge of Fate. That's per stack as well. Stacks up to 3 times, okay. While active, weapon final blows grant class ability energy, so that's going to pair with your dodge as well then. Alright, next up we've got Khepri Sting. Khepri Sting has been a fairly niche PvP exotic for some time, so we wanted to rework it into something a bit more broadly useful with more build crafting hooks. Khepri Sting, alright, removed automatic smoke bomb activation when using a melee attack, removed true sight when dealing damage with smoke bomb, yes, Thank you so much. This is an absolute nerf. Added, killing weakened targets creates a burst of weakening smoke and returns smoke bomb energy. I'm absolutely okay with this change. Hunter smoke, Hunter invis, Hunter dodge, it all needs a fucking nerf, to be honest with you. Every hunter will deny it, obviously, because they are just all in denial, but there you go. Oathkeepers. Oathkeepers have not been quite worth the time investment to overdraw for the damage bonus, so we've tuned that a bit for some better ease of use and a higher potential payout of damage. Okay, so Oathkeepers, increased maximum damage bonus from 150 to 200%, now provides more of a total damage bonus earlier in the overdraw. Okay, so this is just a buff. This is just a minor buff, I guess. Rite Rangers has had a rough time with previous balance changes failing to hit the mark. Despite that, we believe that its most recent rework established a playstyle that fits the fantasy of the exotic. However, its cancellation effect still didn't feel worth the investment, especially due to a challenging bug with how its damage is scaled, so we've given it a bit of extra juice. Actually, a lot of extra juice, okay? What does that look like? So Blight Ranger fixed an issue where cancellation damage was not consistently scaling based off voltaic mirror progress. Sorry if I said that wrong. Adjust voltaic mirror meter behavior now requires 25% less reflections to reach maximum, feels more evenly. Blocked melee damage now counts as a reflection. Maximum cancellation damage increased by 50%. This is in addition to the fix above. Minimum cancellation damage increased by 150%. Now always applies blind before dealing damage. Updated visuals, audio, and timing of the blinding shockwave to better reflect its impact. Holy moly. I wonder if Hunter's going to start using that now. Alright, so that is Hunters out of the way and done. Now let's move on to Titan. I'm a Warlock main. I'm actually really nervous to see what they've done with Warlock. Anyway, so we've got Crest of Alpha Lupi. Over the past year, we have seen a lot of love when it comes to the new additions of things like the support frame autos. With the Edge of Fate, we took a look at some of the other clearly support-oriented exotic that aren't as popular to give them a leg up to modern sandbox standards, starting with the Crest of Alpha Lupi. We wanted to keep it subclass agnostic, while letting it feel like the one-stop shop for the support Titan fantasy. You will never ever see a support Titan. They just don't exist. Crest of Alpha Lupi added additional effects. Sustained damage behind a barricade triggers another smaller healing pulse. Healing your allies grants barricade energy. Okay, maybe you will actually see it used more then, because Titans love their barricades, right? Phoenix Cradle. The next clear option was Phoenix Cradle. There's a lot of ways to generate sunspots, but it always felt like you couldn't create them where you wanted to maximize the effects of Phoenix Cradle. So we tackled that while also hitting on a very common piece of feedback when it comes to your Cradle enabled sunspot visuals. Phoenix Cradle updated the VFX on sunspots while the user has Phoenix Cradle to look more clearly supportive to allies. Okay. Added additional effects. Dealing sustained solar weapon damage in a sunspot extends its duration. Providing solar buffs to allies has the chance to create a sunspot at your feet. Okay. No longer having to run around for them. Alright, Mark 44 stand-asides. Stand-asides. Ironically left in the dust. Yep, just like a lot of things like PvP and PvP Crucible maps. The exotic lost its role with the introduction of Juggernaut and other changes that has made the melee refund less valuable. We've removed the melee energy refund on shoulder charge hit and the overshield while sprinting. These are replaced by more arc-centric perks that turn you and your allies into an unstoppable force. That's exactly what Titans should be. Alright, Mark 44 stand-asides. Sprinting with Juggernaut active periodically grants you a stack of static charge. Sprinting while amplified creates an area behind you that grants ally speed booster. That's really cool. I like that. Path of the Burning Steps. We liked how Path of the Burning Steps played in Season of the Wish before the previous changes to this exotic. To return it to its glory days, gleefully throttling with Polaris Lance, we added back some of its bonus damage while tying it to the Roaring Flames. Path of the Burning Steps. Increase solar weapon damage and solar ignition damage based on the number of stacks Roaring Flames you have. Roaring Flame times 1, 2, 3 grants plus 10, 15, 20% bonus solar weapon damage and plus 5, 10, and 15% bonus ignition damage. Bayant Leap remains a potent choice, but we wanted to add a small nudge to it that won't overtune the whole Suspend kit. Okay, so Bayant Leap now increases the duration of Suspend applied by enhanced Dranger's Lashes. Oh my god. Actium War Rigs. These changes to Actium War Rig go along well with the new weapon stat, giving you the option of build crafting your loadout around the exotic to keep its new kill streak bonus rolling. Think Worm God Caress for auto rifles and machine guns. Worm Gun Caress. Auto rifle or machine gun final blows increase their stability, ammo generation, and damage. Stacks up to 10 times. Higher stack counts expire more quickly. Spirit of Alpha Lupi is also going to be inheriting one of the above changes to Crest of Alpha Lupi. Spirit of the Alpha Lupi, adding healing to your allies grants class ability energy. Okay, nice. It's a buff. Alright, now we've got Warlock. Oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, I'm already looking at a couple there and I don't use some of those, so let's just see what happens. Starfire Protocol. Empowering damage, as it has been written on Starfire Protocol, has always felt pretty confusing. With the new world of stats, we figured it was high time to clear up this confusion and give this exotic a well-deserved boost. Starfire Protocol now activates on radiant damage, increase the fusion grenade energy gain from dealing damage from 2.5 to 5%, reduce the fusion grenade energy gain from final blows from 20 to 15%. Okay, so that's the nerf there. Wings of Sacred Dawn. With the release of other items in game, such as the Manticore SMG, yep, it's literally Wings of Sacred Dawn as an exotic perk for the Manticore, we've seen some gripes when it comes to exotics that ask the player to survive while airborne. So, to give some help to the Wings of Sacred Dawn, we've taken a look at just that. Wings of Sacred Dawn. Combatants are less accurate towards you while Tome of Dawn is active. This is similar to Manticore's effect. While a solar super is equipped, solar weapon final blows now grant restoration and reloads your stowed weapons. Oh my god. Felwinter's Helm. Now this is going to be really interesting because this also does stuff with melee. For many exotics, it's been hard to keep up with the difficulty progression of activities, oftentimes leading to them being great in on power or lower content, but extremely feast famine in high difficulty activities. That's true. For weapons, we can usually help remedy this with on sustained damage effects, and in the case of Felwinter's Helm, it's an equivalent on hit. Okay, I see. Felwinter's Helm. Added powered melee damage weakens targets. Applies a 15% weaken. Weaken effects applied by the burst fire, melee, or finisher final blows are unchanged. Okay, so you can actually still cause that from final blows. Alright, so we've got Prometheum Spurs. In a world with so many Rift exotics, it's been hard to make a combo Rift feel truly good for how many hoops it can ask you to jump through. So, with this pass, we've looked at an alternate approach to the combo rift. We'll also let players hook into other atoms on the solar subclass to allow for a more versatile. So, with this pass, we've looked at an alternate approach to the... Who uses the word atoms? So, with this pass, we've looked into an alternate approach with the combo rift that will also let players hook into other atoms on the solar subclass to allow for more versatile benefits. Promethean Spurs reworks the perk Embers of Light. While a solo super is equipped, weapon defeats grant class ability energy, and weapon defeats in a rift can grant a different solar verb depending on the rift. Okay, so Healing Rift will give us Radiant to nearby allies, and Empowering Rift will give us Cure to you and nearby allies. Okay, great. Boots of the Assembler. Currently, Speaker's Sight largely outclasses Boots of the Assembler. That's true. Speaker's Sight is similarly potent at healing allies, produces orbs to power your build, and doesn't require you to stand in a rift to gain its benefit. Plus, Boots of the Assembler Noble Seekers are just not that smart. So, we sent them to college. They now target allies more reliably, spread their healing out much more efficiently, and give a more flexible benefit when they find an ally. Alright, so what does that look like? Noble Seekers no longer spawn in waves and instead spawn at a constant rate based on fireteam size. Average number of Noble Seekers produced per 8 seconds is unchanged. It will produce 1 per ally in that time period. Oh, okay, I see. Noble Seeker tracking range changed from 40 meters, always from 20 to 40 meters based on that time. Oh, wow. That's insane. Noble Seekers will prioritize allies who have not been healed in the last 8 seconds. Noble Seekers can now target allies standing in the rift producing them. Noble Seekers will not target an ally more than once every 4 seconds. Noble Seekers will not detonate when passing near an ally they are not targeting. That's really annoying and also a good change. They will still detonate if they make direct impact with an ally they are not targeting. Well, yeah, obviously. No longer grants extended rift duration on Noble Seeker impact with allies. Yeah, that would be insane because it's obviously generating much more now. Instead, grants class ability energy on Noble Seeker impacts with ally scales based on the fireteam size. Okay, so you do get your rift back much quicker as well. Geomag stabilizers. We enjoyed watching players shoot out beams of concentrated arc energy just as much as you all did generating them. But with the launch of the Edge of Fate, we are limiting some of that unlimited power. To compensate, we took a pass at retuning its sprinting for bolt charge. Geomag stabilizers reduces super energy granted to ionic traces to 4% from 7%. Retune sprinting to top off bolt charge. Decrease bolt charge stacks required before sprinting to grant additional stacks from 6 to 5. Decrease the amount of time required for sprinting to start granting bolt charge from 2 seconds to 1. Increase the rate bolt charge is granted while this effect is active from every 1.5 seconds to 1 every 0.33 seconds. Okay. Alright, cool. And just to finish this off here, and with that, this TWID is over. Hope you found all those changes coming to your melee builds and exotic armor pieces interesting. We are pretty sure some of you have already started theorizing about the new builds and combos that will be the most fun to play when the Edge of Fate launches. Yeah, especially for Worlds first as well when the raid gets released. Let us know what got you the most excited, the Destiny 2 community team. Yeah, I mean, overall, this is insane. There's so much here, and this is just down to melee. And guys, literally next week on the 24th, which is a Tuesday, they're going to be telling us so much more about the Edge of Fate and showing us new weapons as well. I'm not going to waste more of your time just because this video did drag on just a little bit here. But yeah, I'm actually very happy with pretty much all of these changes. I'm very interested to see what that looks like in the new build crafting kind of scheme and method that we're going to be doing with the whole Armor 3.0 stuff. There's going to be a lot to dive into when the Age of Fate comes out. The entire game basically feels like it's getting a whole, like, overhaul. So, yeah, I'm very excited. I think it's very positive. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. And, guys, again, I just want to thank every single one of you for the amazing support I've got recently on the channel. It's been overwhelming. I've loved it so much, guys. Thank you so much again for your time today. And have a good one. Take care.